Ever heard of a car so exclusive, so unbelievably ahead of its time?
I think I know where you're going with this.
We're diving into the Mercedes-Benz C111 today.
You weren't kidding about ahead of its time. This wasn't just some flashy concept car from
Oh,
Mercedes-Benz.
no, no, no. This is a whole different ball game.
It was their testing ground for some really wild tech back in the 60s and 70s. Think of it like a laboratory on wheels.
Okay, I'm picturing this. It's 1969, man on the moon, the world's going kind of crazy for technology.
Right.
And Mercedes-Benz drops this spaceship-looking car at the Frankfurt Motor Show.
Talk about making an entrance.
But hold on, because there's more. This wasn't just some flashy design. This car was designed entirely on a computer.
Which back then was unheard of, right? Completely revolutionary.
Nobody was doing that.
And that design...
Oh man, those gull-wing doors, that sleek wedge shape.
It was like they took their iconic 300 SL Gullwing, you know the one, and shot it straight into the future.
And that paint job. That metallic orange, come on, that's just cool.
They knew how to stand out at those car shows.
I bet.
They wanted this car to be unforgettable.
And then there's the engine.
Oh yeah, this is where things get really interesting.
This wasn't your grandpa's engine. This was the Wankel rotary engine.
Forget pistons, we're talking about a triangular rotor spinning in an oval chamber.
Now, I've heard of rotary engines, but never really understood them.
Well, this Felix Wankel fella, he was onto something.
What was the supposed advantage?
They were saying these things were smaller, lighter, smoother, and more powerful than a regular engine. Everyone thought it was the future.
So what happened? Why don't we see them around much today?
Turned out, those things weren't so reliable.
Reliability. Always a sticking point.
The engine seals, they'd wear out crazy fast, like around 80,000 kilometers.
Seriously? 80,000 kilometers? That's not a whole lot for a car like that.
No, not at all. And then, boom, oil consumption goes up, emissions go through the roof. Not exactly what you'd expect from a Mercedes.
Not a good look.
Nah.
But still, they built 13 different C111s, all to test this engine.
They were convinced this was the future, no question. They were taking a risk, really pushing the envelope.
That's some serious dedication.
For sure. But the C111 story doesn't end there. Mercedes-Benz, they're not the type to give up easily. They took this platform and went in a whole other direction.
Okay, now I gotta know, what's next? What do they try next?
A diesel.
Diesel. Wait, what? Seriously? I mean, I don't usually think of diesel and sporty in the same sentence.
Right. But that's where Mercedes-Benz decided to make a statement.
Okay, so what? Were they trying to change the image of diesel or something?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
They wanted to prove that diesel didn't have to be all sluggish and boring, you know, just for trucks and stuff.
So they were going for power and efficiency. So did they invent some crazy new diesel engine?
Actually, they started with their existing OM617 engine.
Hang on, wasn't that like a regular sedan engine?
You got it, the one from their W116 S-Class sedan.
So they took a sedan engine, put it in this futuristic sports car. That's wild.
And get this, they turbocharged it. Added an intercooler, too, just for kicks.
Okay, now we're talking. What fast are we talking here?
Over 300 kilometers per hour top speed.
Wow, that's not messing around. But was it just a speed demon? What about the whole efficiency thing?
They aced that, too, actually. Fuel efficiency was surprisingly good, especially considering those speeds.
That's amazing. So they took this engine that everyone thought was just for, like, cruising down the highway, and turned it into a record breaker.
Yeah, pretty much blew everyone's minds, and it didn't stop there.
There's more. They didn't just stop with one super fast diesel C111.
Oh, no, they kept going.
All right, lay it on me. What came next?
Next up was the C111 Third, and this one was all about aerodynamics.
Aerodynamics, so even sleeker than the original.
If you can imagine it, yeah. They got the drag coefficient down to just 0.195. That's nuts.
Hold on, I think I saw a picture of this one. It looks like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it's pretty wild looking. And those curves weren't just for show.
How fast did this one go?
They hit 338 kilometers per hour at the Nardo Ring in Italy.
Nardo Ring? Isn't that like a giant racetrack?
It's massive, basically a giant circle, perfect for high-speed testing. And it wasn't just a one-time thing. They held an average speed of 325 kilometers per hour for a good while.
That's insane. I can't even imagine going that fast, let alone holding it there. But okay, so we've got speed, we've got sleek looks. What about fuel efficiency with this one?
They actually managed to average 16 liters per 100 kilometers.
Seriously, for a car that can brake 300 kilometers per hour, that's incredible. It's like they found a way to cheat physics or something.
It really is amazing what they accomplished. But we've talked about diesel, we've talked about aerodynamics. You mentioned a V8 earlier.
Oh, yeah. Did they ever put a gasoline engine in a C111?
They sure did. They weren't satisfied with just dominating the diesel world.
Okay, this, I got to hear. Yeah, what was under the hood?
A 4.8-liter twin-turbocharged V8 engine.
Twin-turbo V8. Now, that's what I'm talking about. We're talking late 70s here, right? How much power did they squeeze out of that thing?
500 horsepower.
500 horsepower. Back then, that's supercar territory. Even today, did this thing ever actually, see the road?
Here's the thing. Remember how we said the C111 was basically a rolling laboratory? That still holds true, even with the V8.
You mean they never actually sold this car after all that?
Nope. Mercedes-Benz never planned to make it a production car.
Wait, seriously? What was the point of all this then? All these incredible engines, the record-breaking speeds.
That's the beauty of the C111 project. It wasn't about selling cars. It was about pushing the limits of what was possible. It was about pure innovation.
So basically, it was a giant look what we can do to the rest of the car world.
Exactly. It showed that they were willing to take risks, to explore new technologies, and to not be afraid to be different.
And that, my friend, is a story for the ages. It's kind of crazy, right? They built this legendary car, this C111, and nobody could even buy one.
It really makes you wonder, what if the C111 had actually hit the streets?
Yeah. What if you could have walked into a Mercedes dealership back in the day and just, driven one home? Imagine that.
We'd be living in a different world, automotive-wise at least. The design alone, those innovations.
And don't forget about the engines, especially that Wankel. Imagine if they'd really perfected that rotary engine, made it reliable.
It could have been huge. Who knows? Maybe we'd all be driving Wankel-powered cars today.
It's like a whole alternate timeline,
Yeah.
The C111 changing the game instead of just hinting at what could be.
Right. It really makes you think about all the other automotive what-ifs out there. All those amazing ideas that never quite made it to production.
It's almost like Mercedes created a legend on purpose. This car that everyone wants but nobody can have. It just makes it more desirable,
There's something to be said for exclusivity, I guess. But the real legacy of the C111, it's not just about the car itself. It's about what it represents.
You're right. It's about pushing boundaries, taking risks, and never being afraid to try something new, even if it doesn't always work out exactly as planned.
And that's something worth remembering no matter what field you're in.
Well said.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening who's as captivated by the C111 as we are, I say dive in. There's a ton of info out there, photos, videos, the whole deal.
Yeah, get lost in it. It's a wild ride through automotive history.
And who knows, maybe you'll even be inspired to dream up your own revolution.
That's what the C111 is all about, inspiring the next generation of dreamers and doers.
This deep dive has been incredible. From that iconic design, to the Wankel engine, to breaking speed records with a diesel, the C111 has it all.
It's proof that Mercedes-Benz isn't afraid to push the boundaries of what's possible in the automotive world.
And that's what makes the C111 a true legend. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure. Always a blast to talk about automotive game changers like the C111.